Long before satellites, compasses, or GPS, humans looked to stone, stars, and symbols to understand the world. They carved, inked, and etched their visions of land, power, and myth into whatever material they had: papyrus, clay, rock. Some were accurate, and others were filled with monsters, gods, or invented lands. But all were reflections of how ancient civilizations saw themselves, and the mysteries that lay beyond the horizon. Some of these maps tell us more than they should. Some suggest knowledge that shouldn't have existed, and some raise questions we still can't answer. This is part 2 of our series of 5 of the most mysterious ancient maps ever discovered, on Fireside Unsolved. In 1995, on the Danish island of Bornholm, something unexpected emerged from the earth. At first, it was just a single carved stone, no bigger than a hand, then another, and another. Before they knew it, archaeologists at the Vasagård site had uncovered over 300 small stones etched with mysterious patterns. Most of them were round, carved with radiating lines, like tiny suns captured in stone. The Danes call them solsten, or sunstones. They date back to the late Stone Age, between 2900 and 2700 BC. That's over 5,000 years ago, when Europe was still deep in its Neolithic period, and when this island was home to farming communities just beginning to shape the land. But these weren't everyday tools. These stones were deliberate, symbolic, and possibly sacred. The Vasagård complex where the stones were found wasn't just a settlement. Archaeologists believe it was a ceremonial enclosure, built by a culture deeply connected to the rhythms of the sun. The entire site is aligned with astonishing precision. Its entrances line up with the rising and setting sun during the summer and winter solstices. This was likely a holy place, possibly the heart of a Neolithic sun-worshipping religion, a solar cult. Among the classic sunbursts, a few stones stand out. Some are square, carved with crosshatched lines that resemble fields. Others are covered in intricate cobweb patterns. A few shapes look like stalks of wheat or barley, crops we know were grown on Bornholm at the time. Researchers now think these may have been more than ritual items. They might have been maps. Not maps in the modern sense, with borders and names, but symbolic maps. Stones representing farmland, land divisions, fields owned or farmed by clans or families. Some archaeologists believe they marked territory, who worked what, who had the right to harvest certain crops, which piece of land belonged to which group. But here's the strangest part. Many of the stones were deliberately broken before being buried. This wasn't random destruction. It was ritual, a sacred act. The leading theory is that the sunstones and mapstones were offerings. The breaking was intentional, part of a ceremony, an appeal to the sun gods to bless the land with fertility, and maybe something more, a kind of contract, a spiritual way to legitimize a community's claim to farmland, witnessed by the sun, sealed by sacred ritual. Each stone was a promise to care for the land that the gods gave them, a legacy carved into rock, shattered with purpose, and buried in the earth, waiting 5,000 years to be found again. Just over 2.5 meters long, the Turin Papyrus Map is fragile, faded, and torn. But the map is a treasure, not of gold or jewels, but of knowledge. Drawn over 3,000 years ago, it's considered the oldest surviving topographic map in the world. Its story begins in ancient Egypt, around 1150 BC, during the reign of Ramses IV. The scribe who created it was no ordinary draftsman. His name was Amenhotep, son of Ipui, a scribe of the tomb from the village of Deir el-Medina, a community of artisans who built and decorated the tombs in the Valley of the Kings. He wasn't just drawing lines on papyrus. He was planning a royal mission, and what he produced wasn't just a map. It was a masterpiece. The map was commissioned for a quarrying expedition deep into the eastern desert, to Wadi Hammamat, a rugged 15-kilometer stretch of barren hills and dry riverbeds. The objective was to extract blocks of Beckenstone, a prized form of Metagrewaki sandstone, destined to become towering statues of the king himself. The papyrus shows the winding path of the wadi, the junctions with neighboring valleys like Atala and El Cid, the quarry site, and even a distant gold mine at Biram Fawakir. He marked out settlements, noted distances between critical points, and described the terrain. This was no abstract schematic. It was a carefully observed, data-rich visualization of the land. And what makes it even more extraordinary is that it's also the world's first known geological map. Different colors and symbols were used to depict different rock types, black and pink hills for varying geologies, and dotted patterns in brown, green, and white to represent the diverse gravel found in the wadis. He even labeled areas with the size and quality of the stone blocks to be quarried. This wasn't just artistry, it was strategy, a tool for logistics, planning, and resource management. And by some definitions, it qualifies as the earliest known geographic information system, a way to visualize and analyze the geography, geology, and economy of a region, all on one piece of papyrus. Today, the map resides in the Museo Egizio in Turin, Italy. How it got there is its own story, likely taken from Egypt by Bernardino Drovetti, a controversial figure in the early days of European antiquities collecting, sometime before 1824. But what remains clear is this. Long before satellites, a scribe in ancient Egypt mapped the desert with an eye as sharp as any modern cartographer. And in doing so, he left behind one of the oldest, and most advanced, scientific documents from the ancient world. Over 2,500 years ago, a Babylonian scribe took a slab of clay and pressed into it what may be the oldest surviving map of the world. At just 12 centimeters tall, this small clay tablet, now known as the Babylonian Map of the World, or Imago Mundi, attempts something extraordinary, to capture all of existence in one circular design. At the center is Babylon, the heart of the world, bisected by the Euphrates River. Around it, the map names nearby cities and regions, Susa, Urartu, Assyria, each carved in cuneiform script. The known world ends at the Bitter River, a circular ocean encircling the land like a cosmic moat. But beyond that ocean is the mystery. The map features 8 triangular zones at the outer rim, called Nagu in Akkadian. These were not real territories. They were imagined lands, symbolic or mythical in nature. One is described as a place where the sun is not seen. Another speaks of a land where a winged bird cannot safely reach it. These inscriptions hint at places both unreachable and unknowable, echoes of distant fears or legends. But the real mystery is what the map was truly meant to be. Maybe it was political, placing Babylon, the empire's capital, at the literal and cosmic center of the universe. Or maybe it's religious, a reflection of divine order. Or was it something even more ambitious, an attempt to explain the world, both seen and unseen in a single diagram? And there's more. The reverse side of the tablet includes text that doesn't directly match the map's layout, suggesting that the tablet might combine sources from multiple documents. In 1995, a second fragment was discovered, showing part of a previously unknown ninth Nagu, raising questions about how complete this grand vision really was. Today, the clay tablet rests in the British Museum. It's cracked, worn, and still incomplete. But it remains one of the earliest attempts by human hands to draw the world, and to hint at what might lie beyond its edges. In 1558, a Venetian nobleman named Niccolo Zeno the Younger published a map and a series of letters he claimed to have discovered in his family's archives. These documents purportedly detailed a voyage undertaken by his ancestors, Niccolo and Antonio Zeno, in the late 14th century. According to the narrative, the Zeno brothers explored the North Atlantic, visiting regions such as Iceland, Greenland, and even reaching parts of North America. The map accompanying these letters depicted familiar territories like Norway, Denmark, Iceland, and Greenland. However, it also introduced several unknown lands, most notably an island called Friesland, situated south of Iceland. Friesland, along with other mysterious places like Estadaland and Drogeo, captured the imagination of many and appeared on various maps for centuries, despite lacking any basis in reality. Modern scholars have cast significant doubt on the authenticity of the Zeno map and the accompanying letters. Many historians consider them to be fabrications by Zeno the Younger, possibly intended to bolster Venetian claims of early exploration in the New World, predating Columbus. The inclusion of fictitious islands and the lack of corroborating evidence from other contemporary sources support this view. Yet the Zeno map's influence was profound. It shaped European perceptions of the North Atlantic for generations, illustrating how cartography can reflect not just geographical knowledge, but also the aspirations and myths of its creators. In 1900, in Brittany, France, a French archaeologist named Paul du Châtelier unearthed a curious slab of engraved stone from a prehistoric burial. He noted its markings, lines, shapes, and patterns. but no one knew what they meant. So the slab was stored in the cellar of a chateau and forgotten for over a century. Then, in 2014, researchers rediscovered it. What they found wasn't just a decorated rock, it was a revelation. The Saint-Bélec Slab, carved around 1875 BC during the early Bronze Age, is now believed to be the oldest known map in Europe, and perhaps the oldest known map of a specific territory anywhere in the world. Carved into a sheet of schist nearly 2 meters long, the slab's surface is etched with geometric symbols: lines, circles, rectangles, and hollows. For decades, their meaning was a mystery. But after a detailed 3D survey and analysis by a team of French and British researchers between 2017 and 2021, the engravings were matched with the geography of the Odette Valley in western Brittany. The map shows river networks, hill contours, fields, burial mounds. It even appears to represent political boundaries, a Bronze Age principality carved into stone by people long vanished. But the mystery doesn't end there. At some point, the slab was deliberately broken. Its top section was lost. The rest was buried face down inside a stone tomb, used as part of its wall. Researchers believe this may have been a symbolic act, an iconoclastic rejection of the power structure the map once represented. A kingdom erased not just in life, but in stone. For over 100 years, this artifact sat in the dark, its purpose unknown, its message unread. Only now are we beginning to understand what it meant to the people who made it. It's not just a map, but a statement, a claim, a record of control over land, water, and memory. The Saint-Bélec Slab reminds us that maps aren't just about geography. They're about power, identity, and how a civilization sees itself in the world.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Fireside Unsolved. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to help the channel grow. Until next time, take it easy and be easy, you filthy bastards.